What is the ICGB, or the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology? The ICGB was established in 1987, first as a UNIDO special project with the mandate to provide a center of excellence for research and training in genetic engineering and biotechnology, with a focus on developing countries and economies in transition. In 1995, it became an independent international organization focusing still on the same mandate. The ICGB comprises 61 member states and 24 affiliated member states. This shows you the member states of the ICGB. And in 1987, when it was established, it consisted of 2 research centers in Trieste in Italy and in New Delhi in India. And 20 years later, in 2007, the Cape Town component was established with a focus on Africa and building research capacity in Africa. And you can see that the membership in Africa compared to Latin America is still very low. We still need to get other African countries to join the ICGB. The countries in green show those countries that are currently in the process of becoming members of the ICGB. So at the moment, since 2007, we have the headquarters located in Trieste, and with 3 research components in Trieste, New Delhi, and Cape Town. The focus of the ICGB is on various aspects of health, agriculture, and biofuels production. The ICGB offers international PhD research fellowships to any student from an ICGB member country to do their PhDs at any of the 3 research components in either Trieste, Cape Town, or New Delhi, and also postdoctoral fellowships for fellows from those countries. Now, as I said, any fellow, pre or postdoc fellow, can come to any of the 3 centers to do a PhD or to do postdoctoral research. However, at the end of the training, they have to return to their home countries to continue the research in their home countries. The problem we face here is that we train a large number of PhD graduates, postdoctoral fellows, and for reasons outlined yesterday, for lack of funding, lack of facilities, they don't go back to their home countries. So although the fellows sign that they will go back to their home countries, there's nothing we can do to force them to return to their home countries. So this clearly is a problem that we can train the people, but if they do not have the facilities and the financial resources to continue research in their home countries, it becomes problematic. So what we do is we provide small research grants for these fellows to return to their home country so they can go with some funding. Obviously, that is contingent on the facilities being available. We're not in a position to provide facilities as well in their home countries. We also organize workshops and training courses. So these can be arranged in any of the member countries, funded by the ICGB. And we also have a large number of technologies, patents. We're involved in technology transfer. So from the center, certain biogeneric technologies can be transferred to companies in the member countries. Typically, the pre-doc, postdoctoral fellowships are in the region of about 18,000 euros per annum. The returning research grants are about 10,000 euros per annum. And the workshops and training courses are about 20,000 euros per annum. Now, you may appreciate, if you consider a typical country in Africa, excluding Nigeria and South Africa and Kenya, the membership due is based on the UN assist contribution, based on the GDP, etc., of the country. So most of the African countries would pay a membership fee of $5,000 per annum. That is not even the value of a pre-doctoral or postdoctoral fellowship to train a PhD student. So despite that, we cannot get many African countries to mobilize to become members of the ICGP. So that gives you an outline of the core activities of the ICGP. In Trieste, at the headquarters, the research component comprises about 200 research scientists, people, fellows, with about 15 research groups. And the New Delhi component is the biggest of the three. There are about 400 people with 9 departments and about 35 research groups. And the Cape Town component, being the youngest and the smallest, has about 40 people with only 3 research groups. And the reason for this is that the components are funded entirely by the governments of those countries that host the components. And so the governments have to pay for all the activities at the various research components. The Indian government has been very supportive, and in the last few years has increased the funding tremendously to run the New Delhi component. So the types of research that are done at the 3 components, in the Trieste component, there's a large focus on basic molecular biology of various diseases, animal models for genetic diseases, etc., cardiovascular disorders, neurodegenerative disorders, vaccination, molecular biology of viral infections, focusing on HIV, papillomaviruses, rotaviruses, and flaviviruses, and protein structure, biotechnology, etc. And at the New Delhi component, the focus is on human health with various areas in virology, immunology, malaria, computational biology, recombinant gene products, some of the pioneering work in diagnostic kits for HIV, strip kits for HIV have been done at the New Delhi component. And they also have a very active group in biofuel production and synthetic biology. In the area of plant biotechnology, they focus on plant transformation, molecular biology, insect resistance, and plant resistance. So those are the research focus areas at the 2 components. Coming to the Cape Town component, the Cape Town component was established because it being in Africa, it was viewed that it will be easier for African scientists to come to Cape Town and go back to their home countries and continue the work. We also have the advantage that the Cape Town component is housed within the Institute for Infectious Diseases and Molecular Medicine at the University of Cape Town, also very in close proximity to the Groote Schuur Hospital, so we have availability of resources, patient material, etc., clinicians at Groote Schuur Hospital for collaborations. And one of the activities as director of the Cape Town component was to get other African countries interested in joining the ICGP. And here we have in 2012, we had the Minister of Science and Technology of Angola visiting the Cape Town component. And as you see, Angola is in the process of becoming a member. We also hosted delegations from various other countries to come to the ICGP component, Cape Town component. We have had meetings in Kenya with NACOSTI, workshops to arrange for Kenyan researchers for reciprocal exchange visits to South Africa. And that is just the visit to Tanzania. And the Cape Town component, the research activities focuses cancer, molecular and cell biology with myself as the group leader and the component director. My term as director of the component comes to an end this year, so I will focus more on my research as an emeritus professor and continue my research. Frank Brombacher works on cytokines and disease. Louise Mbini works on cancer genomics. And then we have a biosafety unit that focuses on biosafety programs in Africa, training policymakers, etc., in biosafety procedures, policies, etc. So just to give you an idea of the type of work being done, Louise Zabini is looking at aberrant gene expression in carcinogenesis. He focuses mostly on prostate cancer and looking at signal transduction pathway, transcription factors, etc. Frank Brombacher focuses on neglected infectious diseases. These are TB, listeriosis, schistosomiasis, trypanosomas, Helminth, and leishmaniasis. And he has a large collection of knock-in and knock-out mouse models to mimic these diseases, to study these diseases. We have in the order of about 200 different strains of knockout and knock-in mice in our pathogen-free animal unit. And I'm working on squamous cell carcinoma of the esophagus, doing whole genome sequencing and GWAS studies, looking for mutations, biomarkers, and therapeutic targets in esophageal cancer. And I put in this slide because it was raised yesterday in this presentation on cancers in Africa and in Kenya. And you can see this is the incidence of squamous cell carcinoma in Africa. It's extremely high, and it's interesting, it's extremely high in the eastern part of Africa, China, in Latin America, and you hardly see it in Western Africa. And we believe this may have something to do with the migration pattern. If you, as you saw from the slide from Professor Nieto this morning, that migration started there and downwards and upwards into Africa. And we believe that founder gene mutations may be responsible for early genetic defects in this disease. This gives you an idea of the students that we have been training at the Cape Town component. The large number of students obviously would be from South Africa, but we have trained students from many different places, from India, Cameroon, Tanzania, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Nigeria, etc., Mauritius. We also have, these students would all have been on ICGEB fellowships, and you would see that we also have had students from Germany, Spain, Slovenia, and Italy, etc. And those students would come from funding from other sources from their own countries, but not from ICGEB funding. And the South African students would also not be from ICGEB funding. South African students do not qualify for ICGEB fellowships in South Africa. They only qualify for ICGEB fellowships to Italy or India, but not to study in South Africa. So these are students who have funding from other sources to study at the component. And it's part of the program to forge internationalization and collaboration between researchers. So I want to end off just on this interesting slide. This shows, this is a WHO prediction of the disease burden. And you can see that we are currently over here, but you can see that the incidence or the dailies for neglected infectious diseases have been increasing. And the for HIV/AIDS, TB, it's predicted that it would drop by 2030. Not much, but it would drop. But what people are not seeing is the rapid rise or predicted rise in non-communicable diseases by the year 2030. And with our large, I'm not saying we should not focus on communicable diseases. We should still focus on it, but we should keep our eye on the ball and not ignore the rise in cancer, obesity, diabetes in Africa. So it is predicted then that HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria will comprise 25%. Non-communicable disease, the disease burden in sub-Saharan Africa, will be of those proportions. So we need to focus on the non-communicable diseases in Africa. So I hope I've given you an overview of the type of activities of the ICGB and specifically the ICGB Cape Town component. Thank you for your attention.